This video, ladies and gentlemen, is from my man Greg Foreman, 21 Gun Salute. Greg, we're gonna listen to the, I like to do current events, sharing some of your content, listening to some of your content with my peoples. Once again, 21 Gun Salute, Greg Foreman on YouTube. My man. Black conservative perspective on YouTube, goddammit. But pro-blacks declare black father a hero for murdering sheriff over son killed in police shooting. Let's get into that.
Good morning, Mr. Hinton. Good morning.
He said good morning, Judge. He's very soft-spoken.
Okay. All right.
I seen in the video about my grandson, I seen two scared people. I seen the officer scared, and I seen my grandson scared. So it's an unfortunate incident that happened. So that's all I seen. It was like, I didn't see the police there trying to kill. No. What I seen was two persons made a mistake. My grandson made a mistake being there, and the officer, he was trying to get back to his family too.
We're also learning more new information tonight. Hinton's family says he attended Don High School before it shut down. He was not in school at the time of his death. Family and attorneys didn't dispute otherwise that Hinton was sitting in a stolen car or had a gun on him at the time of the incident. His cousin says, however, he should not have been in that stolen car because he was locked out of the house the night before.
And I was asleep. Ryan, I'm so sorry. This was never supposed to happen to you. Ever. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I'm so sorry, Ryan. Just know he won't us to be there.
Like we said, a very, very emotional press conference that wrapped up about an hour ago. The family is asking the public not to rush to judgment. Their attorneys are reviewing every report and angle of the incident they can get their hands on. At that point, attorneys say they will announce what, if any, steps they will take. We also asked about Ryan's father, Rodney Hinton Jr. Family did not want to take many questions regarding him, though we can tell you he faces aggravated murder charges, and he will be back in court tomorrow for a bond hearing. He's currently in custody at the Claremont County Jail.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a wild story that's going viral involving an Ohio man by the name of Rodney Hinton Jr., who has been charged with aggravated murder after allegedly intentionally striking and killing a sheriff deputy with his vehicle on May 2nd. Now, this incident occurred just one day after his 18-year-old son, Ryan Hinton, was fatally shot by a Cincinnati police officer during a foot chase related to a stolen vehicle investigation. Okay, so just so you guys understand what's going on here, Rodney Hinton Jr., okay, is a 38-year-old man from Ohio, and his son, Ryan Hinton, was fatally shot by Cincinnati police while trying to run away as police were investigating a stolen vehicle.
Another news tonight, Cincinnati police are sharing body camera video of the moments that led to an officer-involved shooting and killing of a suspect in East Price Hill.
And WLWT News 5's Danielle Dindak has been leading the way on this investigation for us. She's live right now walking us through the video. Hi, Danielle.
Hi there, Mike. This video is very fast. We're talking about 6 seconds. 6 seconds from the time that officer got out of his vehicle and fired those shots. I do want to warn you, what you're about to watch could be hard to see.
He's got a gun! He's got a gun! On your right!
In a matter of seconds. It all began with a stolen vehicle, a Kia from Edgewood, Kentucky. GPS tracking led the investigation here, a condo complex in East Price Hill. Officers arrived, and Chief Terry Thiegy explains what happened next.
All four individuals get out and start running.
On your right!
Some in different directions. So officers decide which individual they're going to pursue. One officer decides to pursue the individual who we now know had a firearm in his hand.
At some point, the person with the gun slips.
They heard the metal from the firearm hit the concrete. This individual gets up, still has the firearm in his hand, and continues to run through the dumpster.
The officer who fired the shots was chasing another suspect before he made contact with the armed suspect.
The officer who did discharge his firearm said that when the individual came out between the dumpsters, he had the firearm in front of him. He was in like a bladed position, and it was pointed at the officer. And he felt threatened for his life, and that's why he discharged his firearm.
4 to 5 rounds were fired. The suspect was hit twice, given medical care right away, and died. Fiji says this is the gun the suspect had. A semi-automatic with an extended magazine, with another magazine in his pocket.
Let me be very direct. We cannot allow individuals to flee from officers with a loaded firearm aimed at them. When this happens, the outcome is almost always tragic.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Now I'm going to go over the facts so that everybody understands exactly where we're at, okay, in this story. Ryan Hinton Jr., the 18-year-old, was with some other people, some other individuals in a stolen vehicle. He had a weapon on him, a firearm on him, loaded, and decided to escape the vehicle and to try to run away from police as they were approaching to investigate the stolen vehicle. Now, the police officer said that the individual pointed the gun at him, and I don't know if that's true. I can't say that for certain, okay, looking at the body cam footage. However, I can definitely understand that in a situation like that, where you do have an individual who was armed, okay, when you're at a fast pace like that and they're moving, they're running, I can see how the officer could probably had thought that the individual was potentially a deadly threat, or that maybe the firearm was pointed at him in some way. I don't know. I'm not the officer. All I'm saying is that given the facts that we have right now, this shooting most likely is going to be justified. Okay, again, considering the fact that the 18-year-old was in a stolen vehicle, he had a firearm on him, he tried to run away, and the officer said that he thought the individual, the 18-year-old, pointed the weapon at him, right? So he thought that his life was in danger and he was defending himself. That will probably be the legal justification for why this officer is not going to be facing any charges or any type of punishment or anything like that, right? I'm just giving you the legal justification. I'm not saying that it is morally justified. I'm saying, legally speaking, from the information that we have, it is likely going to be legally justified. Again, I'm not speaking on the morality of it. I'm just speaking on the legality. And I know there'll be a ton of pro-blacks in my comment section talking about, oh, you selling out, you're bootlicking for the white man. Like, this is what they're going to say. Okay. And when I get those comments, I know that I am probably correct, right? I believe that those comments are a good indication that I am over the target, okay, when it comes to my analysis, right? So with that being said, the father of Ryan Hinton, Mr. Rodney Hinton Jr., did not feel that his son's death was a justified shooting and decided to take matters into his own hands, okay? He decided that he would seek revenge against the police by allegedly driving his car into a retired county sheriff deputy, Larry Henderson, who was directing traffic near the University of Cincinnati during a graduation ceremony. So Deputy Henderson, who is a 33-year veteran of the force, was killed by Rodney Hinton Jr., the father of Ryan Hinton, because Rodney Hinton wanted revenge against the police who killed his son. So he decided to take it out on some random deputy that had absolutely nothing to do with what happened to his son. And now Rodney Hinton is facing murder charges for what he did. And I want to talk about it because the pro-blacks are calling Rodney Hinton a hero for what he did.
Of killing a Hamilton County deputy with the car is headed back to court. Rodney Hinton Jr. is charged with aggravated murder.
That's right. He is being held with no bond, but that could change. WLWT News 5's Brian Hamrick is live tomorrow with tomorrow's hearing. Hi, Brian.
Yeah, actually, prosecutors want Hinton to be held in jail with no bond until the trial. In order to get that, they have to have this special no bond hearing. That's tomorrow. One that could reveal evidence that we normally wouldn't see at this stage in the case.
In a way that was calculated and premeditated.
Rodney Hinton Jr. appears in court.
And purposely caused the death of an on-duty lieutenant sheriff.
Here, he got a room filled with tension and charges of aggravated murder. But there's something he didn't get. Bond.
In this case, they're asking for no bond. They're essentially asking that the court deny any type of bail.
Investigators say Hinton slammed his vehicle into this pole and recently retired Hamilton County Deputy Larry Henderson. Henderson, who was working a special detail for UC graduation, was killed. It came the day after Cincinnati police shot and killed Hinton's son, Ryan Hinton, during a car theft. Shortly after this body cam of that incident was released is when the deputy was hit.
This isn't a whodunit. This is a does his actions, qualify for aggravated murder.
Jason Philibom is a former prosecutor. He says a high bond, even millions of dollars, might not be enough to keep Hinton in jail, so prosecutors want this specific no bond hearing.
Recently, there's been some changes with the internet and raising money that can allow someone to get out if they have these high bonds.
You have this crowdsourcing or GoFundMe or something like that, where all of a sudden they're able to raise money for criminal defense attorneys or even bond.
We could see things like body cam, or maybe there's a camera on that pole where this all happened. We might even see that.
Absolutely.
The no bond hearing won't prove the charges against Hinton, but it could show how prosecutors plan to do it and how the defense will try to stop it. Yeah, now the law to have this no bond hearing has been on the books since 2004. Before that, a judge could just say no bond without an extra hearing. But now the burden of proof is much higher, and that's why we may see evidence we wouldn't normally see at this stage. Reporting live, Brian Hemrick, WLWT. News 5.
Brian, thanks so much. Well, the hearing to determine if Hinton gets bond begins at 9 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so I definitely do not believe this guy should get a bond. And one of the reasons why I say that is that this dude is clearly not remorseful about what he did. I mean, he's basically taunting the police on the way out. I mean, like, come on. I don't think that this guy should be out on bond, right? I think that this guy is a danger to the public, specifically police. And it's probably not a good idea to let this guy out. So again, with that being said, the pro-black are saying this guy is a hero. He's a hero for what he did. They took his son and he took one of theirs, right, in response. And again, according to some people on the internet, this is justified. Take a look.
And I'm gonna just say y'all like this. Rodney mother Hinton Jr. is a hero. Power to my mother people. Free my mother brother. Talking about. You take one of ours, we take 10 of yours. You lucky he only took one. You talking about. And I don't promote violence, but at the end of the day, if I watch a mother footage of my son being unalived and y'all lied to me, what the you think I'm gonna do? What the you think I'm gonna do? Y'all couldn't have thought, and y'all rabbit ass man.
The most evil, wicked human being on the planet. We just talked about Jezebel, right? Let's go.
That y'all was going to lie to that man, and that man seen on that tape, that boy was running, didn't have no gun in his hand, and y'all unalived that boy. Straight unalived that boy for shit in this world. So hell yeah, I'm riding with Rodney. Hell yeah, we riding with Rodney. Tonight we ride with Rodney.
They shot and killed his son, and he took it upon himself to get in his car and run into a police deputy, and he unalived him also. Y'all didn't hear unalive my child, somebody get unalive. Can't say the other word. Hamilton County, Ohio Police Department unalived this 18-year-old. Said he had a gun in his hand. When the parents went and watched the video from the cam, and he saw his son being murdered without even seeing his son pull out anything. That baby was just running. They said he didn't pull out no weapon. That was that man intentions to get that baby unalive by saying he pulled out a gun. So after they went and watched the body cam, his dad went straight and got in his car and ran into full force, ran into a police deputy and unalived him. When they got to the hospital, he was gone. And they tried to intimidate that man by having like 30 police, him walking through 30 police. You know what he did? He tucked his chin up high and he looked at every one of their face. He ain't got nothing to lose. Y'all already took your child from him for no reason, talking about a gun. Bitch, I would look every one of y'all in the face too like y'all was gonna intimidate that man.
I'm gonna tell y'all this right now. I stand with Rodney Hinton Jr. because for officers to pew a young man in the back when he didn't brandish a weapon, but he threw that weapon, because you can see it in the video, and blaming him for having that weapon, saying he pointed it at him, so that justified them pew-pewing. Now, this is a message for my niggas and my niggas only. If you call the police, if you get involved with the police, if you have aggressive officers that live in your neighborhood, your city, your county, whatever, these officers are set up to hunt. These officers are set up to shoot and then ask questions later. So, with that being said, my men out here, if you choose to run from the police,
these them same Jezebel bitches that was talking about after the Trump campaign that they was done with black men. Y'all remember that? Huh? Y'all remember that? That whole campaign, they was done with black men. And they don't care what happened to black men. Remember that, y'all? Because they supported King Trump. Y'all remember that? Don't let these bitches put batteries in y'all back. We just did a whole video on the Jezebel spirit, the Jezebel spirit that runs in the African American community and in females, period. You understand me? Pure evil. And listen to these bitches, y'all. Listen to them. Listen to these bitches, y'all. We already know where their intentions at. They still mad because we support Kamala Harris. That old yellow bitch. You understand me? That old yellow bitch we ain't support. So, pay attention, fellas. I'm here to remind y'all and keep y'all on point. Alright? Let's go.
And you end up not being able to escape them, please continue to have your hands up, because they will scream gun. I promise you, they will scream that they think you have a pew-pew. They think you have a pew-pew.
Yeah, so I gotta tell you guys, I will never, ever, ever understand why these people always, every single time, continue to defend this type of behavior. I really don't know. I don't understand it. Maybe I don't hate police enough, right? Maybe I don't hate white people enough, right? Because I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that this imagery right here of, you know, this black man getting revenge for his son, standing up to these white guys, right? Looking them down, staring them down. I think that has to do with a lot of the people defending this guy, right? They call this standing on business, right? And people just tend to ignore the context, the facts of the situation. They'll start making up things to fit the narrative that they want, right? Because again, in their minds, this was justified, right? This father taking matters into his own hands was justified because black folks are just tired, right? We just tired of being killed by police. Again, you know, I'm a black person and I haven't had these experiences. So maybe, again, I'm just lacking perspective. But I personally feel as if this father is 100% in the wrong. Even if the shooting, the death of his son was unjustified, he still is wrong for what he did. I don't understand how anybody can say, oh, well, that's right. Oh, that's totally right. Well, they took one of ours, so we're going to take one of theirs. And it's like, really? Is that how your primitive mind thinks? Yeah, it's exactly how their primitive mind thinks, okay? Because, I mean, we've seen this type of thinking when it comes to the Carmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf situation, where you had these people trying to justify Carmelo Anthony stabbing Austin Metcalf in the chest with a knife, stabbing him in the heart. Well, he should have put his hands on Carmelo. All it was a push, right? Allegedly, we don't even know exactly what it was at this point, right? It was a push. We know it wasn't a full-blown fight, okay, or anything like that. But, you know, hey, these people believe that murder is justified for the tiniest reasons, right? For the tiniest reasons. And then people wonder why there's so much violence and chaos in the black community. Right. It's because time and time again, black people defend the indefensible when it comes to this type of violent and reckless behavior. I think that it is fair to say, okay, what happened to Ryan Hinton may or may not be justified. And if it wasn't justified, the way that you deal with that is through the legal system, the legal process. There's a process for dealing with that, right? What you don't do is you go and you murder random police officers because of what some other police officer did. And don't get me wrong, I feel for Rodney Hinton and the fact that he lost a son, right? He lost a son to what, I mean, I believe he believes was an unjustified shooting. And this is why he did it. So I get that. I totally understand that 100%. But to be fair, I also have to ask the question though, since Rodney Hinton is such a concerned father about his son, then where was he before his son ended up in that situation in the first place? Because Ryan Hinton doesn't lose his life if he wasn't hanging out in a stolen vehicle with firearms with other people. If he wasn't engaged in those type of activities, if he didn't run away from the police, again, presumably because he was doing something illegal, right? If he didn't make the decisions that he made, he would not have been put into that situation. So where was the father leading up to this situation? That's the real question. And I'm not making any claims one way or the other in regards to the father's presence in his son's life. I'm not saying I don't know. But I am saying that based off what we do know and activities that his son was involved in, that, hey, I think it's fair to ask questions. Since you're so concerned that you feel like murdering a random police officer in an act of vengeance is justified, right? If that's how passionately you feel, then again, where was this before all this happened? What role was his father playing that could have prevented this from happening in the first place? I think that's the real story here. Because every single time I cover one of these stories, these police shootings are always preventable. It really doesn't have anything to do with the cop, because again, people can sit here and say whether or not it was justified or unjustified, or whether or not the cop should have felt that his life was in danger or not. People are going to argue about that forever, right? You're not really going to convince anybody who strongly has feelings one way or the other about what happened and whether or not this is justified. But when people talk about preventing this from happening, you're not going to prevent this from happening by saying, oh, well, let's murder more police officers, or by demonizing police, or by hating police, or any of that stuff that these people are out here, you know, advocating for. You're not going to solve the problem like that. The way that you solve the problem is that you have to raise your kids in a way that prevents them from being involved in a life of crime in the first place, right? They're not involved in criminal activities, and they're not involved in activities that lead to interactions with police like this, then there's basically a 0% chance of something like this happening. It doesn't happen. And that's what people got to focus on. What led up to Ryan Hinton being in this situation in the first place? I played a clip at the beginning of this video of his family members talking about how Ryan Hinton was locked out of the house. Well, why was he locked out of the house? Was he home late? Was he out too late? Like what? Like what's going on? I feel like when you get the full context and you get the full story, again, the real story really should be about, okay, what type of life was Ryan Hinton living before this happened? And what was his father's role in his life? That's the real conversation that we should be having. So, I don't think that this man is a hero. Okay, I don't think that this behavior is justified. I don't even know if the cop shooting is justified. To me, it looks justified, or I believe that legally speaking, it's probably going to be justified, right? Just considering what we have at this point. But regardless, there are legal avenues. There are ways to go about dealing with this situation and rectifying the situation. Obviously, nothing is going to bring this man's son back, but clearly going out and killing another police officer in vengeance is also not going to bring his son back either, right? So, you know, all of this is just a really sad situation, and I really don't like the fact that people are condoning this and celebrating it and calling him a hero. I think it's just another sign of why the black community really is down bad right now, right? It's just stuff like this, man. Defending this type of stuff. Again, it's one thing to say that the shooting is unjustified. It's another to then try to justify a police officer, a random police officer losing his life over something like this. It really doesn't make sense. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.
Salute, salute, salute. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. The African American community, what they going through. Jump out the window. They got them sisters putting batteries in them niggas' backs. But my thing is this, do they got that same energy they got for these 5 Memphis police officers that jumped that brother? Do they got that same energy for them same 5 police officers that jumped that brother? Them 5 black Memphis police officers that jumped that brother that's on trial now? See how the legal system, the legal system is playing out, ladies and gentlemen? What Greg was just talking about. Understand me? But anyway, I wonder if they got that same energy for them 5 Memphis police officers that was black, that killed the brother, Ty Nichols. They got that same energy. Let's listen to a little bit of it, y'all. We're going to listen to a little bit of it, not a lot, until we get back to the headquarters. How about that?
DraftKings Casino app.
We're going to listen to it until we get to the headquarters, but they don't got that same energy for these 5 Memphis police officers, though. You understand me? That lynched that brother. They beat that brother worse than Rodney King got beat, goddammit. And that's a fact, a whole fact. Let's get into it. They got this one police officer on the stand. Yo, they beat the shit out that brother, man. Seriously, he was begging for his mom and everything, man. Them motherfuckers ain't had no regard for none of that shit, man. Niggas. Once again, niggas. Let's get into it, man.
Yeah, 30 seconds here. We had some people walk in and we're relaying the same words to them.
Let's get into it. Let's go. What we holding back for? Let's get to it. Let's get to the content.
You have an agreement in federal court in which you have pled guilty. State sentence. Mills or Nichols. I published this to the jury by reading. Mr. Mills, listen, okay? This is a memorandum of understanding that's entered into by the parties the state of Tennessee, the district attorney, and the defendant Desmond Mills, represented by his attorney Blake Bowling. This memorandum is intended as a binding agreement between the parties, and at the appropriate time will be filed with the court in this indictment 2300241. It will, consistent with the state's ethical obligations, be made known to co-defendants' counsels. Acceptance of responsibility and acknowledgement of conduct. Defendant Desmond Mills wishes to take responsibility for his role in the beating and death of Tyree Nichols, and fully acknowledges that his conduct and the conduct of his co-defendants was improper, excessive, and criminal. He acknowledges that Tyree Nichols was improperly beaten and restrained, and that he and his co-defendants then covered up their criminal conduct by, among other things, lying to first responders and to MPD personnel about the true nature.
What's going down, Small? Hey, baby. Slow motion on my way to the headquarters. You know what I mean?
You go to the haircut. I knew that was you. You was pointing at you. You go to the haircut.
No, going home.
Home?
Yeah.
Can you take me to school?
I'm going that way, baby.
You almost dead now.
Smooth grooving. Everything good?
I tried to call your peeps, ain't nobody answer. I guess that ain't no number. My school all right down there.
You look like your mom too, and your grandma. She look like both of them, Smooth. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Of their contact with Tyree Nichols and the nature of his injuries. Defendant Mills acknowledges that these actions resulted in Tyree Nichols' death. Requirement to provide complete and honest testimony and cooperation. Defendant Mills agrees to cooperate and provide truthful testimony in any and all federal and state proceedings related to this matter or related investigations, including civil rights investigations by the United States Department of Justice. This extends to any interviews requested by federal or state prosecutors and investigators, as well as trial testimony. Defendant Mills must tell the truth at all times and not knowingly withhold any material information. Guilty plea and sentencing. Defendant Mills will enter guilty pleas in federal court to offenses charged in Federal Indictment 23 CR 20191/MSN, and when appropriate, will also enter guilty pleas in state court to offenses charged in Indictment 2300214. He will be sentenced in federal court first. The federal court judge will determine his sentence. After federal sentencing, he will enter guilty pleas in state court. Agreement by the state. The state of Tennessee agrees that upon fulfillment of the above conditions, that it will agree to a guilty plea that provides for a state sentence that will be served concurrent. Do you know what concurrent means?
Yes.
It means at the same time, is that right?
Yes.
That we will agree to a state sentence that will be served concurrent with and will not exceed defendant Mills' federal sentence. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Furthermore, any period of incarceration shall be served in the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Yeah.
So you have an agreement in federal court in which you have pled guilty. Is that correct?
Yes.
With the federal judge to set your sentencing.
Yes.
A recommendation by the United States Attorney's Office not to ask for a sentence in excess of 15 years of incarceration.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
But a federal judge able to sentence you all the way from supervised release to life.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
You also have an agreement in state court. Tell the truth. And your state sentence will run at the same time as whatever federal sentence you get. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when you're sent to prison that you will go to prison in a federal prison and not a state prison?
Yes.
You and I have met how many times?
Twice.
Only twice. Total amount of time we spend for each other, with each other?
Not an hour.
Less than, did you say not an hour?
Not an hour.
Not an hour, so less than an hour.
Yes.
Have I told you there's two most important things?
Yes.
I tell you it was to listen to me and for me to listen to you.
Yep.
And for you to do what?
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Do you understand that the agreement that you have in federal court, that the agreement you have in state court, that what a federal judge will take into account is whether or not you tell the truth?
Yes.
Tell us where you're from, Mr. Mills.
I'm from Connecticut.
And you're from, you were born in Connecticut?
Yes, I was born in Connecticut.
Parents from somewhere else, though?
Yes, my parents are from Jamaica.
When you say Jamaica and when you say some other words, we can hear it.
Oh, yes, yes.
So you have a little bit of a Jamaican accent with regard to some words.
Yes, I've been told that, yes.
Okay. Grew up in Connecticut.
Yes.
Did you go to high school?
Yes, I did.
Did you graduate high school?
Yes, I did.
All right, in Connecticut?
Yes.
All right, what'd you do after that?
I went to college.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to college at West Virginia State University.
What did you do in college?
I played football and I graduated.
Very good. What'd you do after that?
And then I started my career in law enforcement. I was a correctional officer first. I was a correctional officer first, and then for about 3 years, and then so I moved to Tennessee. I did corrections for about 2 years before I joined MPD.
What brought you to Tennessee?
Corrections at first. I was chasing a career in correction, then I switched to police officer.
When you came to Tennessee, did you bring your family with you, or?
I got married, and then we started our family in Tennessee.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
3.
How old are they?
7, 5, 4.
Boys and girls?
2 girls, 1 boy.
After corrections, you joined the Memphis Police Department?
Yes, I did.
And how long were you with the Memphis Police Department?
6 years. 6 years.
Where all were you assigned in those 6 years?
Rains Precinct, Ridgeway Precinct, and then OCU.
Most officers in the force are assigned to precincts, right?
Yes.
Riding around in cars, responding to 911 calls, traffic enforcement, all sorts of things.
Yes.
And then you went to OCU, which is the Organized Crime Unit, is that right?
Yes.
And that is more of a specialized group, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Organized Crime Unit is actually a large umbrella where there is device team, where there is drug enforcement teams, where there are fugitive apprehension teams. It's a large umbrella, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Where in particular in the Organized Crime Unit did you go?
To the Scorpion team.
All right, and what were the responsibilities of the Scorpion team?
High, a lot of crime, violent crimes. They would they come from the top. They'll send us litter, and it's like a zero tolerance policy. They really wanted. They wanted drugs, money, cars, and guns. That's what they're on.
So rather than being assigned to a particular area like you are in prison, you're part of this team where you're sent to certain areas. Is that right?
Yes.
And these would be high crime areas?
Yes.
One night you could be in South Memphis?
Yes.
One night you could be in North Memphis?
Correct.
One night you could be in Hickory Hill or whatever it is?
Yes.
And your responsibilities on those nights, you said zero tolerance, is to saturate that neighborhood. Is that correct?
Correct.
Zero tolerance, does that mean making a lot of traffic stops?
So Pennsylvania probably just did the coolest thing I have seen any state do in a while. If you live in the state...
Or what does it?
I'm trying to think the best way to say it. Enforce all crime, misdemeanor or felony, I would say.
And what did that amount to in practice, though? So what were y'all, sort of doing on those nights? Let's say you're sent to South Memphis and told do a zero tolerance in South Memphis. What are you actually physically doing?
We're physically doing the Scorpion team. We do traffic stops. That was the Scorpion team. That's what we did, because the drug teams, they did their more as our investigations, and they had informants and stuff like that. Our team, our office was the car, so we would make traffic stops and use the traffic stops to find a felony amount of drugs. That's what they wanted. And when you had a felony amount of drugs, then you get to seize the car, and if they got money, seize the money as well. And then they wanted guns, because guns always looks good taken off the street.
And when you say they, do you mean leadership?
Yes, leadership.
Okay. So y'all are given a directive, go to a particular neighborhood, is that correct?
Yes.
Do zero tolerance, is that correct?
Yes.
That means a lot of traffic stops.
Yes.
And the idea is seize drugs and guns and money.
Yes.
And stolen cars.
Yes.
Or cars.
Yeah, cars, yes.
And how long were you with the Scorpion team?
I'd say around COVID time. Around that time.
So COVID started around maybe 2020 or something. Would you have been in the Scorpion teams as much as 3 years? Or?
I think so, around there. Okay. Possible.
So had you been on the Scorpion team for a good amount of time?
Yes.
On the Scorpion team, I'm going to say some names and tell me whether or not you know who these people are, okay?
Okay.
Emmett Martin.
Yes, I know that.
Was he on the Scorpion team with you?
Yes.
Demetrius Haley.
Yes.
Darius Beanie.
Yes.
Justin Smith.
Yes.
Preston Hemphill.
Yes.
High as motherfucker.
January 7th of 2023.